Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Retro Wrestling Review Series, Season 8, Episode 3. And now I'm going to be covering NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way. This show is going to be interesting because I haven't seen this show either since I watched it live. And I remember liking it, but I remember not liking it. The actual memory I have about this show was that I don't remember it being I remember it actually being my least favorite. Of the NXT specials, and I don't know if that's still gonna hold true. After I go back and watch through these shows, we're gonna find out later on. But I just thought that was definitely interesting. Um, you know, we were promised an NXT special. Um, you know, in the at the end of the summer, beginning of fall. And we got just that. We got NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way. And you're going to find out why the show is called Fatal 4-Way once I actually announce it. NXT was still taking over. It was taking over the entire WWE universe. Everybody was talking about NXT. They were still kind of growing as a brand. And now, really, that's all I have to say. So now let me go through the matches that took place on this show. We have an NXT Tag Team Championship match. We have two singles matches on this show. We have a hair versus hair match. That's interesting. We have an NXT Women's Championship match, and then we have a main event. It's going to be the NXT Championship match. And looking at this card, it actually really doesn't look all that great, so that can kind of turn you off to watch this show. But maybe if I know the storyline, because I know them, but I don't exactly remember them as I did back then. But maybe if I talk about the storylines and stuff, then we'll see if the storylines make the matches on paper seem better than they would be. Okay, so we had the preview show. We had the hostess of Renee Yun, and she pretty much just went through the entire build-up of the show, which I liked. And she went through the entire matches first, which I'll do right now. We have a NXT Tag Team Championship match between Kalisto and Sin Cara and the Ascension. We have a singles match between Baron Corbin and CJ Polka. We have a hair versus hair match between Enzo Amore and Sylvester LaFleur. I think is how you say his name. We have a match between Bo Dempsey and Mojo Rawley. We have an NXT Women's Championship match between Charlotte and Bayley. And we have the main event, the Fatal 4-Way match for the NXT Championship between Tyson Kidd, Sami Zayn, Tyler Breeze, and Adrian Neville. So like I said, this card on paper doesn't sound the best. The build-up actually makes the card sound better. Um, so let's just start talking about the whole reason and purpose. They didn't talk about some of them. They didn't really mention why Baron Corbin and CJ Polka are having a match. But I'll kind of go into it later on in the show. The reason why they're having this hair versus hair match, they did have a build up for this. Enzo Amore had been gone off television for a while, so Colin Cassidy was, because he was injured, so Colin Cassidy was wrestling by himself on television, and he was about to get jumped by Sylvester LaFleur and his partner Marcus Louis, I think is how you say that. But then Enzo Amore ended up returning from injury, and he saved Colin Cassidy because him and Colin Cassidy were tag team partners. And it was pretty into it. And I actually liked the team. I've always liked the team of Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy. I think they're a great team. Um, and yeah, they were probably one of my favorite teams in NXT. And they're a really good team. I still think they're a really good team now. Sylvester LaFleur and Marcus Louis, not really so much. Uh, so I guess Enzo Amore and Sylvester LaFleur hated each other. I really don't remember the whole reason why they hated each other because this feud was so long ago. So I believe they did a segment where Enzo Amore was laid out and Sylvester LaFleur and Marcus Louis came out and cut his beard off, and Then this allowed Enzo Amore challenged him to a hair versus hair match. Loser has to get his head shaved. So Enzo Amore went to a barber shop and to get stuff to cut his hair, and we ended up seeing one of the people that works there, the hairdresser, uh, and Enzo Amore accidentally got the stuff that makes your hair comes off instantly onto a poodle. I remember, which that late superstar would later go on to become Carmella. Um, so yeah, that was kind of around the whole reason behind that feud. Um, Not really a lot of reason behind it, but I guess a decent mid card feud. And then the reason that the Bo Dempsey and Mojo Lawley were having a match is Mojo Lawley was really stacking up a bunch of victories in NXT. He was really doing some good things, but I really didn't care for him. And Bo Dempsey had just debuted in NXT. He was dominant. He dominated everybody. And Mojo Lawley and Bo Dempsey um, wanted to become I believe became a tag team. They were entered into a NXT Championship number one contenders tournament, and they ended up losing. And afterwards, Bo Dempsey beat the crap out of Mojo Lawley. So Mojo Lawley wanted to get his hands on him, and and this match was made. Not really a whole lot of reason behind it. Never really cared much for Bo Dempsey. He always thought he was kind of all right. He was definitely dominant when they started out, but yeah, he definitely faded away really quickly. Um, so that was the whole reason behind those two matches. Um, and then we have the actual preview show itself. I actually have to pull it up on my notes, so just give me um, a second. Okay. Um, so we have the build up for the NXT Championship match, which is the Fatal 4-Way. The reason why this match was happening was because an NXT takeover. Um, the Fatal 4-Way match was pretty much split up into two one-on-one matches. It was Sami Zayn versus Tyler Breeze, where the winner was going to become the number one contender to the NXT Championship, and the NXT Championship match between Adrian Neville and Tyson Kidd. So I kind of have to. So there was kind of two separate storylines that kind of became in one storyline. So let me work my way to that. So Tyler Breeze ended up defeating Sami Zayn and become the number one contender to the NXT Championship. And Adrian Neville ended up retaining his NXT Championship against Tyson Kidd. So they continued the Adrian Neville Tyson Kidd match. They ended up having a match a couple of weeks later on NXT because Tyson Kidd was so upset that he lost. It was a much needed It was a much needed victory for him. And Tyson Kidd ended up losing because of his wife Natalia. Um, and eventually Tyson Kidd just had enough. So then on an episode of NXT, Sami Zayn and Tyson Kidd got an NXT Tag Team Championship match, and Tyson Kidd walked out of the match. He left Sami Zayn to himself and turned heel, and allowed Sami Zayn to lose. So then Sami Zayn and Tyson Kidd were feuding for a little while. Sami Zayn ended up defeating Tyson Kidd on an episode of NXT, and Tyson Kidd just kept getting frustrated that he just was losing, but he was still looking really dominant. He was having his wins. So that's kind of what Tyson Kidd's path was. Obviously, Sami Zayn's path was he wanted to get to that NXT Championship. He was obsessed with becoming the NXT Champion. He wanted to win the NXT Championship on the anniversary of the year he debuted. And then Adrian Neville and Tyler Breeze feuded because Tyler Breeze was the number one contender to the NXT Championship, and Tyler Breeze refused to have his NXT title match because he had a finger injury from hand modeling, which in real life he actually did get an injury. So Tyler Breeze was continuously ducking Adrian Neville. He said that, he wanted to leave Adrian Neville in the loop of when he was going to get it. So then he finally cashed in on his opportunity to become the NXT champion. I don't remember what the date was, but it was on an episode of NXT. And Tyson Kidd made his appearance known, and Tyson Kidd was watching the match, and eventually he made his way down to the ring. Adrian Neville ended up super kicking him in the face. He went to go hit the red arrow on Tyler Breeze, but Tyson Kidd ended up getting involved, causing a disqualification. Tyler Breeze was upset about it, so they started brawling. But then eventually, they both gained up on Adrian Neville. Sami Zayn came out, made the save, and standing tall, kind of hinted that that match was going to happen. But then the next week on NXT, I believe, William Regal was made the new general manager of NXT, who is still the general manager to this day, which is pretty interesting. He's definitely an example of how an effective general manager can be, so I like that. Um, and you know, Tyson Kidd wanted a shot at the NXT Championship. Tyler Breeze wanted his shots, and Tyson Kidd cost him his chance. And Sami Zayn believed he deserved a shot. So Adrian Neville says that, why don't we do this? Why don't we all have a Fatal 4-Way match at NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way? That's where the name NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way comes from. And William Regal approved of the match. So then later on in the show, there was a tag match between Adrian Neville and Sami Zayn versus Tyler Breeze and Tyson Kidd. And this match was important because it was interesting to see if these teams were going to be able to work together and put aside the differences and not have to deal with what happened at NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way. But Sami Zayn ended up inadvertently hitting a haluva kick on Adrian Neville. And this allowed Tyson Kidd and Tyler Breeze even got into it. But this cost Sami Zayn and Adrian Neville the match. And then Sami Zayn ended up laying out Tyson Kidd with the haluva kick. And he ended up standing up holding the NXT title, questioning whether or not Sami Zayn was going to finally fulfill his dream and become the brand new NXT champion. And it was, you know, really good. The build up to this match I thought was good. I really enjoyed it. And I liked it. You know, it made everybody in this match look like a threat. Everybody in this match had some type of issue with each other. It was really good. And you had a little bit of everything in this match. You had Tyler Breeze, who was the pretty boy. You had Adrian Neville, who was the fighting champion. You had Sami Zayn, who was the underdog that always got this close to becoming the NXT champion. And you had Tyson Kidd, who wanted to become NXT champion, but also was cocky. So I liked it. So then we have the build up to the NXT Tag Team Championship match between the Ascension and Sin Cara and Kalisto. You know, the Ascension had been the longest reigning NXT Tag Team Champions. No one was able to take the NXT Tag Team titles from the Ascension. And one of the Kalisto tried his fair at NXT Takeover, but didn't get the job done. He ended up having to find a new partner. And Sin Cara ended up being demoted down to NXT because they weren't doing jack shit with him on the main roster. So eventually, Sin Cara and Kalisto became a tag team, and they wanted to win the NXT Tag Team Championships. They ended up winning a tournament to become the number one contenders to the NXT Tag Team Championships. And then you were off to the fences between Kalisto and Sin Cara facing the Ascension. The Ascension said that no one can beat them. No one's going to stop them. And the Kalisto and Sin Cara were the babyface underdog tag team. So I guess that's all fine and good. Just the Ascension weren't really good at cutting promos and stuff. And to me, didn't really look that intimidating. So if this kind of made me want to give a pass on this feud. But it was a little bit exciting. And then we had a video package from Baron Corbin. He was a new superstar coming in NXT. He was a person that had tried to do college football, tried to get to the NFL, didn't make it to the NFL. They like to try to tell you that he did, but he didn't. Baron Corbin was just wanted to, you know, look like a dominating superstar. So they were really building him up. So then we had the build up. This is the final one for the NXT Women's Championship match between Charlotte and Bayley. The reason why this match was happening was because Bayley was a superstar in NXT that was the lovable person who went around and hugged everybody, and she was pretty much the 12-year-old girl that had finally achieved her dream of becoming a WWE women's wrestler, and she was really happy about it. And Charlotte was obviously the one that, because she was a Flair, she was genetically superior. She ended up winning the NXT Women's Championship at NXT TakeOver. And then a few weeks later, Bayley became the number one contender to the NXT Women's Championship. But everybody was always talking down Bayley. Everyone said that she's just a girl that's happy to be here, and Charlotte says that she's not. She should just stick to hugging people. Um, before Charlotte destroys her. Everybody would always put down Bayley, saying that she could never get the job done. She could never win the NXT Women's Championship. And then Bayley says that you shouldn't take me lightly because I am going to beat you and become the new NXT Women's Champion. Um, and it could end up costing you. And obviously they had a history too because when Charlotte had turned heel, she ended up turning heel on Bayley, and this was obviously the big babyface story that was being told, and it was really enjoyable. I didn't really enjoy it as much at the time because everybody should know that I wasn't a huge Bayley fan at the time because I didn't really care for a gimmick. But watching it back now, it was actually a solid gimmick, and she was probably an amazing babyface and probably the best babyface in wrestling today because she's just so lovable and you can't really, and she always does the right thing. So it was enjoyable, and you were off to the fences between Bayley and Charlotte, and I think I talked about all the build up to the matches. Yeah. One thing I didn't mention though is another thing that was being hyped in this show. It was going to be the debut of Kenta. He was a huge superstar back in Japan and Ring of Honor. He was huge. Um, and this was a huge signing by the WWE. They were getting indie talent all over the place. Sami Zayn was one of them. Adrian Neville was one of them. Kenta just added to it. So it was definitely pretty cool to see Kenta go to WWE. They hyped this up really huge because they had a big interview segment for him where Hulk Hogan was the one giving him his contract. So it was definitely interesting that Hulk Hogan's the one giving him the contract, and that means this is a big deal. They had even Triple H out there, but he is the head of NXT. But if Hulk Hogan's out there, then that's a big deal, because Hulk Hogan instantly, because of how big of a superstar he was, um, made this a big deal. So it was definitely interesting to see what was going to happen with Kenta, and I will talk about that later on in the show. But that's pretty much the preview. So now that I've covered that, let's cover the actual pre-show in the show. The actual pre-show in the show itself. Alright, so now we have the pre-show, and we had Renee Young, Jason Alba, and Alex Riley on the panel. Obviously, you know where they went. Renee Young now hosts Talking Smack, and now she interviews backstage, and she pretty much has been pretty huge in the when it comes to being a broadcaster. Jason Albert now is the head trainer of NXT, and then Alex Riley mentioned what happened with him. He went on commentary. He ended up becoming a wrestler, getting injured, came back, was released. So Alex Riley was someone that they had a lot of potential with, but didn't get used. And then we had the first inning is we see CJ Polko in the crowd just walking around. More on that later. He has a sign that says Earth and Takeover in NXT, and he has those crossed out. Sasha Banks gets interviewed about the NXT Women's Championship match, and she talks about how it was a fluke when Bayley beat her for the number one contendership to the NXT Women's Championship, and she said that Bayley's just a fluke and she's not going to win the NXT Women's title. And then Alex Riley asks her if she's jealous about no, actually, Jason Albert first asked her what strategy she can give to Charlotte of how to beat Bayley, and she said that she's not going to tell her strategy. And then Alex Riley starts touching her so he can ask her a question, and then she's like, "Don't touch me." And then Alex Riley asks who he would rather face, who she would rather face, Charlotte or Bayley for the NXT Women's Championship, and Sasha Banks says that it doesn't matter who she would face because she's just going to take the NXT Women's title anyways. And then he asks her if she's jealous at all about Charlotte's rise to the top since they were both in the BFFs together. And then she starts snapping at Alex Riley saying that she's not jealous of anybody. Yeah, she just pretty much goes off on, which was awesome. And this is like the Sasha Banks I'd like to see, not this babyface Sasha Banks we see on the main roster now. This Sasha Banks right here, this is when Sasha Banks was at her best, and she just needs to be this bitchy heel because that's just what she's best at. And then so yeah, I really enjoyed this segment. with the way Sasha Banks was being. And then William Regal gets interviewed, and he talks about how much of an historic addition this is going to be. That NXT is having another NXT special, and he said that he's been in the business 31 years, and this might be the biggest night of his entire career. Um, and then he says that what else does he say? Oh, and then CJ Parker comes up to him, and he says that William Regal shouldn't be focused on NXT. He should be promoting the Earth and trying to save the planet because of all the toxics that are being thrown in there. And then William Regal tells him, you know what? And he's also upset that he doesn't have a match at NXT Takeover Fatal 4-Way. So then William Regal tells him that if you want a match tonight, I'll give you a match tonight. You can, but the only thing is that you don't know who your opponent is. And he's like, yeah, fine. So obviously you know where this is going. But I enjoyed this segment. I actually thought CJ Parker was pretty good on the mic. Like I said, he was somebody that had potential, but WWE didn't do anything with him. Then we had the final thing on the show is Alex Riley interviews Adrian Neville, Tyson Kidd, Tyler Breeze, and Sami Zayn. And they talk about the Fatal 4-Way match coming for the NXT Championship. And Tyson Kidd talks about how it's going to be Adrian Neville's last night defending the NXT Championship because he's going to take the title from him. And Tyler Breeze says, I wouldn't be the one to judge that because there's only one face that can take the NXT Championship from him tonight. And Alex Riley asked him how it felt to have the spotlight be put on Raw. And Tyson Kidd talks about how Tyler Breeze lost, and he said he didn't lose because he didn't get pinned. And then Sami Zayn says that there was a team effort. It was a tag team match. 2 winners, 2 losers. And Tyler Breeze says that that Tyson Kidd was an incompetent tag team partner. And everyone just pretty much beats up on Tyler Breeze, so he leaves so he can go train for the match. And then Tyson Kidd talks about how Sami Zayn was too jealous of Adrian Neville because he got more buzz on Raw because he had hit the red arrow than Sami Zayn did. And he says that he's always been jealous because he's the champion and Sami Zayn isn't. And then Tyson Kidd leaves. And then Sami Zayn says that he wants to pin Adrian Neville to take the championship from him tonight because he respects him as a competitor and he wants to make a statement and pinning the champion to take the NXT championship from him is more impressive and will leave more of a statement. And then Adrian Neville says that Tyson Kidd also has to worry about that Sami Zayn also has to worry about Tyson Kidd and Tyler Breeze. And Sami Zayn tells him not to tell him how to run his strategy. You'll do it your way, I'll do it my way, and leaves. And I like this. Everybody has an issue with each other in this matchup, and they're trying to make it show that. And there's going to be like no alliances. So I liked this interview segment. It was a nice way to build up to the Fatal 4-Way match. And then that was it. So now I'm going to actually review the actual show itself. Okay, guys, I apologize for taking this long to actually getting back into making this video. You can obviously tell it took a while because I got a haircut since then. But pretty much what happened was I just been really busy with schoolwork and other things like that, and I've also had some technical webcam issues, but they seem to be working at the moment. I actually had like a hookup webcam I was using, but the one on my computer seems to be working just fine, so I'm just going to kind of use that for the time being. But we had the actual show itself. But yeah, I am going to try to get these NXT TakeOver and Backlash reviews done before both pay-per-views air, so don't worry. I'm just going to have to do like a crap load of them a day. But anyhow, so we had the actual show itself. We had Byron Saxton, Tom Phillips, and Renee Young on commentary, which was kind of cool to see Renee Young on commentary, because normally, you don't really see a female on commentary. It just isn't very likely. It's not really something that happens all that much. So it was kind of cool to see Renee Young be on commentary, and it got me thinking. And I've been thinking about this the past few days. I know this has nothing to do with the show, but when they win that women's tournament in the summer, I would like to see, if it's not Renee Young, a female do commentary for that tournament, and I kind of hope that's what happens. If it's not Renee Young, then I hope it's Natalya, so we'll have to wait and see. but the show actually opens up itself. It shows the WWE intro video, and actually when it shows this video, it actually shows like the NXT video kind of cuts in and invades it, which I thought was really cool. And then we had the first actual match itself. It was a NXT Tag Team Championship match. NXT Tag Team Champions The Ascension versus Kalisto and Sin Cara. Overall, this was actually a solid match. My favorite match out of the three, I guess, that The Ascension has had. It's not even close. And it's not really The Ascension that made this match good. I think Sin Cara and Kalisto definitely carried The Ascension to a good match. So the match starts off with Sin Cara doing a lot of chain wrestling holds. Sin Cara takes out Victor with a moonsault, and eventually he gets thrown onto the he gets knocked off the apron into the guardrail, and the Ascension capitalize. They dominate Sin Cara for a while. Victor hits a powerbomb into the ropes, which looked like crap, and Sin Cara ended up returning it into a Hurricanrana, and he goes and make the tag, but Connor's able to get to Victor's able to get to Connor before he gets the tag, and he knocks Kalisto off the apron, and I kind of like how he had Sin Cara go for the tag and he didn't really realize that Kalisto had been knocked off. It was good psychology. And then Connor hits a splash on him, and then eventually Sin Cara takes out both members of the Ascension. Kalisto gets the hot tag, and he hits a crossbody, a roll up into a kick to the head, and he hits a spinning sunset flip, which Victor completely messed up. And eventually he goes for the pinfall, and Connor breaks it up, and then Sin Cara takes him out. He hits a suicide dive onto Connor, and Kalisto goes to put away Victor, but he fails. And then eventually Sin Cara hits a dive on both of them. Members of the Ascension. Kalisto goes to hit a dive, but the Ascension catch him, and then Sin Cara hits a dive himself. And then eventually Victor hits the one in STO, kicks out, and then the Ascension go to hit the Fallen Man on Kalisto, but Sin Cara holds his leg, kicks him in the head, and then Kalisto hits a Salida del Sol onto Victor, gets the win, and Sin Cara and Kalisto become the brand new NXT Tag Team Champions. They were finally able to end the Ascension's longest reign in NXT Tag Team Championship reign, because it's still to this day the longest reign in NXT, the longest NXT Tag Team Championship reign in history. I believe I didn't really look this up, so I'm just gonna look this up. They were the NXT Tag Team Champions though for. Hold on, it's loading. The Ascension were the NXT Tag Team Champions. Hold on, I looked up the one championship. The Ascension were the NXT Tag Team Champions for 364 days. A record that still stands today in NXT. And it needed to end. The Ascension sucked. They really weren't doing anything with the titles. They were just pretty much wrestling jobbers all the time. They weren't really doing anything with the NXT tag titles. So the Ascension needed to drop. I mean, you needed a change. And I just personally didn't really like the Ascension, so I was pretty happy to see them lose the NXT Tag Team titles. Because, ironically enough, we got solid NXT Tag Team title matches after the Ascension lost the NXT Tag Team Championship, so it made me happy. And afterwards, Renee Young interviews Kalisto and Sin Cara, and Sin Cara was all happy that they won the NXT Tag Team titles and defeated the Ascension, who were the longest reigning NXT Tag Team Champions. And Kalisto says that we are now going to be known as the Lucha Dragons, which is how Sin Cara and Kalisto got their team name. That this is how they became known as the Lucha Dragons. And then Kalisto says that the future is now. And it was a good babyface promo. And obviously, the Ascension, I'll get into it in a minute because I remember what they do on this show. But the Lucha Dragons would go on to defeat the Ascension in their rematch for the NXT Tag Team Championships. And Then eventually they would go on to hold the NXT Tag Team titles for a few months, and eventually they would go on to drop them. I believe at like a random episode of NXT. I don't remember who they dropped him to. And then eventually the Lucha Dragons went on to go on to the main roster. So they went decently far, but once they got on the main roster, they didn't really go anywhere. They were just kind of there. Kalisto had that great moment where he hit the Salida del Sol through the ladder. Sin Cara obviously was somebody that really wasn't having the biggest amount of success. He was just they just put him back on NXT because he really needed to be on NXT, and he finally found something, and they kind of ruined him. I believe Sin Cara really didn't go on to do much of anything. Eventually, he got injured. Kalisto would win the U.S. title, the United States Championship a couple of times, drop it at Extreme Rules. The Lucha Dragons would team back up together, but then because of the draft, Sin Cara and Kalisto ended up splitting up. Sin Cara would join the Cruiserweight division, which nothing came of it. Kalisto would be on SmackDown, pretty much being jobbed out. And then eventually he was in the Rumble. Kalisto was eliminated really quickly. Kalisto was in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, eliminated really quickly again. And then eventually Kalisto was moved to Raw, and you had the chance to reunite the Lucha Dragons. Instead, they decided to move Sin Cara to SmackDown. It made no sense. So overall, the Lucha Dragons really didn't benefit all that much from this match. They benefited maybe short-term wise, but long-term, not at all. It's a shame because the Lucha Dragons, I always thought were like a good high-flying tag team, and the WWE just really messed them up once they got to the main roster. It was a real shame. Okay, so next, Adrian Neville has a video package promo hyping up his match for the main event, and Adrian Neville says in this video package that when he won the NXT Championship, people thought he was just going to be a flash in the pan, but he's proven them wrong, and he said that there's a reason he's the NXT Champion, and it's because he takes risks, and he said that he hasn't even scratched the surface that people thought he could be capable of, and then he talks about how he doesn't think he's cocky. He just knows that he just has enough confidence in himself to be a champion. And he talks about how he's beaten all of his opponents tonight in one-on-one matches, and now he's just going to beat them all in the same time. And then that was it. And he even talks about too how he's never been in a Fatal 4-Way match, but he was able to walk out of NXT Arrival and a ladder match he had never been in with the NXT Championship, and he says he intends on doing the same thing in the Fatal 4-Way match. So overall, I thought this was a good promo here. Okay, so I had to switch to my USB webcam, and I had to put my headphones on because sometimes this thing doesn't like to work. It will make like a bunch of static noises, and it sucks. So this will be probably a recurring thing. So let's get to the next match. It's CJ Parker versus Baron Corbin. And the match was really short. I believe the only moves were a chain hold, and Baron Corbin uses power to power out of it, and then a clothesline, and then Baron Corbin, we didn't really know what this move was, but it was the end of days on CJ Parker for the win, and then he just leaves, and it was awesome. Now, when I had seen this at the time, I thought it was even awesomer, because here's why. So normally, wrestlers, when they don't get entrances during matches, that means they're going to lose, right? Well, that wasn't the case here, because Baron Corbin didn't even get an entrance, and CJ Parker did. And I actually instantly thought, okay, CJ Parker's probably going to win. Well, when that didn't happen, I marked out for that. I think I remember they were hyping up Baron Corbin for weeks, and it was pretty cool to see him debut here. I think when I had first seen him, I enjoyed him. You know, I liked his intimidating presence. I thought he made an impact when he was there, so I liked Baron Corbin at the time. I still like him now, but, you know, obviously he's I just don't really like his attitude, so. But yeah, this was a huge moment for Baron Corbin. He became a huge star in NXT after this. He went on to, they tried turning him into a babyface. At first, he didn't really wrestle many matches. The fans would actually count down how long his matches were. They would be within 15 to 20 seconds. And then eventually, once because he was obviously really green in the ring,
Eventually, once he got better in the ring, he was able to have some more passable matches. And eventually, he ended up turning heel. He was undefeated for a while, lost his first match at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. Then he went on to have his final match at NXT TakeOver Dallas, and he had his first match at WrestleMania 32. He won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and then eventually he's actually been getting somewhat of a push on the main roster. He wins mainly all his feuds, but he hasn't won a title yet. But right now he's feuding with Sami Zayn, so it's two NXT veterans right there. So I think Baron Corbin's actually doing pretty well for himself right now. And as for CJ Parker, I mentioned this before, pretty much just got jobbed out and he was released later on. It kind of sucks what happened to CJ Parker. I think they definitely had a gimmick that they could have utilized, but they chose not to. And I definitely think there was some underrated talent there. So I feel bad. I didn't really think he ever got a legitimately fair shot in NXT. So I feel bad what happened to CJ Parker. Okay, so next, Tyson Kidd has a video package promo. And Tyson Kidd hypes up the Fatal 4-Way match, talks about how one of them is the greatest high flyer of all time. Another one is the heart and soul of NXT, and he ended up preparing his crash in Japan. Another one is self-absorbed and egotistical and good-looking. And then he said there's me and I'm the most dangerous man in this match. And also Sami Zayn, Tyler Breeze, and Adrian Neville in the match too. I thought that was a great line. And he talks about how and he says fact every time, because that was his whole gimmick. And he says, yes, people do chant that I'm Natty's husband. That's another fact. And he said another fact is that Natalya's not going to be there to help me win the NXT Championship. I'm going to do it all on my own, and I'm going to prove why I belong in the WWE. And I thought this was a great promo by Tyson Kidd. Like I said, in the NXT Arrival review, when I did that, I talked about how Tyson Kidd, when he went to NXT, I always thought Tyson Kidd was a good wrestler, but I thought he wasn't the best talker. Well, NXT morphed Tyson Kidd, I think, into a really good talker, and he was just really able to, it just helped him up his game with his it factor. So I definitely think that that helped Tyson Kidd a lot. Okay, so next we had a hair versus hair match. Sylvester Lafleur with Marcus Louis ringside versus Enzo Amore with Colin Cassidy ringside. And this match really wasn't anything special. But this match, what I like about it is this was the first exposure I had gotten to Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy. Not really so much Colin Cassidy, but Enzo Amore and them as a tag team, because when I had started watching NXT, Enzo Amore had been injured and Colin Cassidy was wrestling singles. And now I got to see Enzo Amore, and he's not the best in the ring, but what's thing that he has is great mic skills and great it factor. That's just something you can't teach. But anyhow, before the match, Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy cut their promo where they say, "My name is Enzo Amore, and I am a bona fide G and a bona fide stud, and you can't teach that. And this right here, this is Big Cass, and he's 7 foot tall, and you can't teach that." I remember when that used to be so awesome, but now they do it every week on Raw, and it gets really old. But Enzo and Cass cut a promo talking about how the type of hairstyle, the type of haircut that they could possibly be giving Sylvester Lafleur. And they say, and after each one, Colin Cassidy says, "How you doing?" And then Colin Cassidy says, "And after this, after your haircut, there's only going to be one word to describe you and your haircut. And that is SAWFT, soft." And I used to love it when they said that. But we had the match itself. The match itself was pretty damn bad. This was not a good match at all. Mainly because Enzo Amore is not really that good of a wrestler. Enzo Amore should be more of a manager than a wrestler. Just my opinion. And Sylvester LaFour wasn't really all that good either. But he pretty much dominates the whole match. And then Marcus Louis gets on the apron, and Sylvester LaFour is able to take advantage and hit a clothesline on Enzo Amore. Enzo Amore is able to kick out of it. He hits a lot of right hands to the face. Enzo Amore begins to fight back, and then eventually he gets up on the apron again. Marcus Louis, and then Colin Cassidy takes him out with a clothesline, and then Enzo Amore beats Sylvester LaFour with the roll-up. This match is probably a match you would see on NXT television, so this really wasn't an NXT special type of match. And afterwards, Sylvester LaFour is all upset about this. And another thing, but one thing I did like about this match is Byron Saxton was acting like a heel on commentary, and it's really weird for me to hear that now because now he's so uberly face on commentary, so it's definitely interesting. And I never mentioned where the commentators went from this match. Byron Saxton went on to, like I said, become a face commentator, and he eventually went on to get called up to the main roster, where he would commentate for Raw and SmackDown, but then after the brand split, he just commentated for Raw, and now because of the Superstar shakeup, he just commentates for SmackDown, and he's a pretty damn bad commentator. Tom Phillips he is still the play-by-play guy on NXT, and now he does the play-by-play commentary for SmackDown and 205 Live, and Renee Young went on to host the panel for the pay-per-views, she still did back then, and she also hosts Talkin' Smack. But it's really a shame that they didn't really try to bring her, to put her on commentary, because I actually think she's actually pretty decent on commentary. Not as a play-by-play person, but definitely as someone to get behind the baby faces on commentary. I think she would bring some freshness to the commentary team nowadays. But, continuing though, so yeah, it was really weird though to see Byron Saxton acting like a heel. But afterwards, Sylvester LaFour realizes he has to get his head shaved, so he tries to escape. Enzo tries to chase after him, and Colin Cassidy takes him out with a clothesline, and he picks him up like he's gonna power slam him, and just goes to bring him to the chair. They have the bucket where all his hair is gonna come off, and Sylvester LaFour, Marcus Louis attacks Big Colin Cassidy from behind. He tries to get Sylvester LaFour out of there, but Colin Cassidy and Enzo Amore get to his feet. Sylvester LaFour takes off, and Colin Cassidy and Enzo Amore beat down Marcus Louis, and Colin Cassidy hits a big boot on him, and then they dump the bucket over his head and pretty much shave his head. I really wasn't like a huge fan of this segment. It was fun because of Colin Cassidy and Enzo Amore and stuff, and I always enjoy seeing them as a tag team. But this really wasn't something you really needed to put on an NXT takeover. This was something you should have just done like on an NXT or something. And it was kind of disappointing because the guy that lost the match didn't get his head shaved. Marcus Louis got his head shaved. So that was really disappointing. But the aftermath of this match came is Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy pretty much would go on to become the big faces of the NXT Tag Team division, which was awesome. And in 2016, they eventually got called up to the main roster, where they're having some they're pretty damn successful. They're one of the top tag teams on Raw now, but they're just really stale now because they come out and say their shtick every week. And you know, the difference was here is they went on NXT every week, and they actually had different opponents to work with, and they'd always change it up. On the main roster, they don't do that. It's the same opponents, and they don't ever change it up. So, but yeah. So and Colin Cassidy went on to have his name shortened to Big Cass. But as for Sylvester LaFour, I actually didn't know what happened to him. I know he got released in short-term wise, he ended up feuding with Marcus Louis after his head got shaved. Marcus Louis went crazy, and Marcus Louis ended up defeating him in a match. And it says on June 24th, 2015, after an 8-month hiatus from NXT, he returned to finally be in a match, which was a long-ass time. He became a manager in November 2015, And then on February 5th, 2016, it was announced that Sylvester Lafort had been released from his WWE contract. Then in March of 2017, on March 17th, 2016, he ended up signing with TNA Impact Wrestling. And it says that he was renamed Basil Baraka, I think is how you say that. And he went on to become a part of this group called the Tribunal. I don't know if that's how you say that or not. And he pretty much stayed in TNA until like October of 2016. And now he's fighting the independent circus under the name Tom Larafa. And then Marcus Louis went on to become crazy. He did like this weird gimmick where he was stalking Tyler Breeze, which nothing ever came out of it. And then on February 5th, he was released, and he pretty much went on to do the same thing as Sylvester Lafort, where he ended up joining TNA Impact Wrestling, became the part of the Tribunal, and I believe he had his ring name changed too. His ring name was Baron Dax. So, yeah. But now it doesn't really say anything about him. It just says it says on December 10th it was reported that Dax has parted ways with TNA, so it doesn't really say what he does today. So, yeah. But yeah, so obviously Sylvester Lafort and Marcus Louis did not benefit from this match. And really Colin Cassidy and Enzo Amore didn't really benefit from this match either. This match was just a throwaway match, really. So, yeah, whatever. Alright, so next it has a video package for Tyler Breeze. I will talk about where he went after this show because it really disappoints me to see what happened to Tyler Breeze. But he pretty much says that nobody could walk a mile in his shoes because he's gorgeous. And he says that he's not just gorgeous, but he constantly gets win after win every night. And he says that Sami Zayn, Adrian Neville, and Tyson Kidd wish so they could look like him. And when it shows them, it actually shows like hashtags on them. Like when it said Sami Zayn, it said hashtag Uggo. Adrian Neville said hashtag Hobbit, which was funny. And then Tyson Kidd said hashtag Natty's husband. So I thought that was pretty damn funny. And he said that they wish that they could look like him, but he's the best looking superstar of NXT, and he's going to be the new face of NXT when he wins the NXT Championship at NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way. Really good video package by Tyler Breeze. This was probably the most over he ever was in his career, was when he was the number one contender to the NXT Championship, and he was kind of on this little path. I would say maybe in 2015 he wasn't as over, but he was still pretty damn over in NXT, but he was just great in NXT. Okay, so next backstage, Tyler Breeze is getting himself massage and makeup and stuff, and getting his ring together. He's just looking at himself in the phone, in his phone, because he thinks he's so gorgeous. And then the woman asks him what he wants to wear for attire, and Tyler Breeze just looks at him and is like, "I'm a little busy here." And I thought it was pretty funny, and it was awesome because he's just such an arrogant heel. So I thought it was pretty cool. Alright, so next we had the debut of Kenta. So, William Regal comes out and he got a massive ovation. He was really over. And obviously, I probably mentioned it in the beginning of the video. This was when William Regal was extremely new to being the general manager of NXT. And isn't it kind of funny how when you have an NXT general manager, or just any general manager, do a small amount of stuff, and just come out and announce matches, they can still work today, because William Regal was still the general manager of NXT today. It's kind of funny. But he comes out and hypes up how NXT's grown into this huge thing, and now everybody wants to be a part of NXT. So, and he introduces the new superstar Kenta. They play a nice little video package for him. They show him getting signed to the WWE, and they had this big sign-in with him, Hulk Hogan, and the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. So it's like, you knew this was going to be a big deal of Hulk Hogan as the one, being the one giving him the contract. So that instantly means it was a big deal. That's how I knew this guy was a big deal. And you had people putting him over like, Kofi Kingston and Big E. So then he introduces Kenta. Kenta comes out, and Kenta gets on the mic, and he says that it's a dream come true to be on NXT. He speaks in Japanese, and then he says that now that he's in NXT, he's going to be taking a new ring name, and he's going to be having taking the name of his hero, Hideo Itami. So at this point forward, he was no longer known as Kenta. He became known as Hideo Itami, and he said that he wants to be NXT champion. And then the Ascension come out and interrupt him. Victor kicks him and just tosses Hideo Itami out of the ring like he's a hunk of crap. And obviously, they changed Kenta to Hideo Itami because WWE really likes, for some odd reason, wants to change your name when you come in. That's definitely changed now. But before, WWE changed Kenta to Hideo Itami. I thought it was pretty stupid. They've done it to a lot of wrestlers, and I'm not even going to really get much into it. Then Connor gets on the mic and say that they want a rematch for the NXT Tag Team Championships, but before he can finish his sentence, Hideo Itami gets on the apron, gets in the ring, cleans house, hits a big boot on Victor, drop kicks, because he had knocked Connor over the top rope, and then he tosses Connor out of the ring, and tosses both of them as the Ascension, and then he hits a drop kick, driving the Ascension off the apron, which was awesome because the Ascension sucks, so it was cool to see someone finally stand up to him. And then he grabs a chair because it's 2-on-1 and holds them off. And the Ascension have to retreat, and this causes William Regal to raise his hand afterwards, and then that was it. And this was a huge moment because it was the big signing of Hideo Itami. They obviously utilized him in a big way because he did have him take out the longest reigning NXT Tag Team Champions his first night in the WWE, so it was a really big moment. And this would launch off Hideo Itami to feud with the Ascension, which would lead to a tag match at NXT TakeOver Evolution, which I'll talk about in the next episode. And then pretty much, WWE signed Hideo Itami, wanted to make him a huge star, obviously, but it just hasn't really worked out that way. Injuries kind of got in the way. He ended up getting injured in 2015, so he had suffered a shoulder injury, so he ended up having to be put on the sidelines. So then they tried bringing him back in 2016, ended up getting a neck injury, and now they finally have him back, and it looks like he's about to become the number one contender to the NXT Championship. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that. William Regal is definitely a big thanks to this. William Regal's been one of the people that made NXT what it is. He signed all these people. He definitely has an eye for talent, and I kind of wish, and I'm glad that he's in this world of NXT. He's the reason you see a lot of people that have been gone on to become future world champions in the WWE, future stars on the main roster. So, if you want to thank anybody for that, thank William Regal because he helped to do that. So, overall, I really enjoyed this segment, and it was probably the best thing on the show. But unfortunately, that's not really saying much. But this was probably the best thing on this show so far. Alright, so next match was Bo Dempsey versus Mojo Rawley. This match was incredibly short. Did not belong on this show. I don't know why it was on this show. And I get you wanted to do a match with a different type of feel to it, have a brawling style. But why put this match on the card? I don't know. Bo Dempsey pretty much kicked his ass. They brawled. Mojo Rawley took him down. Mojo Rawley's eye got cut open, and then Bo Dempsey took his head off with a clothesline. or like a running clothesline, and then he hit the diving headbutt for the win. Then he goes off the top rope and does it again, and then that was it. And I forgot that when Bo Dempsey originally came to NXT, that they built him as a monster. That certainly changed, because then eventually he went on to feud with Baron Corbin. He lost that feud. And then he just kind of faded away. He was just kind of getting jobbed out all the time. Then eventually he started doing his bullfit thing, where pretty much he was fat, and they tried to use that. He tried to get himself in shape. He lost like 5 pounds, and they made a big deal out of it. So we do this thing where he would hit his stomach all the time, and everyone loved it, but I didn't really care for it all that much. And then eventually in 2016 he was released from WWE, which he was understandably deserved, because he really wasn't all that good. I wasn't the hugest Bo Dempsey fan, but it looked like they had some plans for him. And I'll talk about in the next video what I think probably happened with Bo Dempsey. Because I think they originally were going to build him up as a big monster, but I think there was other things at play that happened. As for Mojo Rawley, I believe they went on to have one more match where Bo Dempsey destroyed him again. Then Mojo Rawley got injured, came back, teamed up with Zack Ryder, got as the Hype Bros. That was really working well for him, but now Zack Ryder got injured. They both went to SmackDown, then Zack Ryder got injured, and now Mojo Rawley is a singles guy. He went on to win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal when he hasn't been on TV in 2 weeks. I mean, none of these guys are really all that good. Bo Dempsey's probably a little bit more talented, but Mojo Rawley sucks. And yet he's the one that's still with the company and is getting somewhat of a push. Next, Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy are backstage, and Enzo Amore is upset that they didn't get to see anybody blood, and he won the match, and he feels like he should. So they want to find Sylvester LaFour and Marcus Louis. So then they see him just hanging around backstage. Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy go after him. Sylvester LaFour takes off. Colin Cassidy hits Marcus Louis in the ribs, and he picks him up, and they go into the ring, and Big Cass hits an atomic drop on Marcus Louis. Then Enzo Amore, he was wearing a towel over his head, so Enzo Amore rips the towel off his head, and we get to see his bald head. And he's not completely bald. He does have some hair, but it's not a lot. And then, but his eyebrows are just completely gone. So Marcus Louis is embarrassed, so he takes off running. And then Enzo Amore gets on the mic and he says, "Marcus Louis, I got a new word to describe you, and I'm going to spell it out for you. BAWLT, bald." This was alright, I guess, but like I said, didn't really belong on TakeOver. So, but obviously, and like I said, the guy that lost the match didn't get his head shaved. Marcus Louis did. So Sylvester LaFour lost the match, and he was supposed to get his head shaved. It was I think it's stupid. Next match was an NXT Women's Championship match. NXT Women's Champion Charlotte versus Bayley. Yeah, I can't really look at Charlotte the same at this moment, because there was just some nude pictures of her that were leaked out to the internet, and they don't really look the most flattering, so I can't really look at Charlotte the same. I may never be able to look at Charlotte the same. So that kind of sucks. But the match itself, I actually didn't watch this match when it was on live at the time, because I was on a Bayley protest at the time. I think at the time I really wasn't a huge fan of Bayley's character. So I wouldn't watch any of her matches or promos or anything that had to do with Bayley. Kind of like what I'm doing to Roman Reigns right now. So it's kind of funny how that worked. I guess it didn't work. Eventually, actually, now I watch all of Bayley's matches now, because I think Bayley's really good. I don't know, because obviously out of the 4 horsewomen, I don't know if she's my favorite one out of the 4 horsewomen. I'd probably say that it goes maybe Sasha, Bayley, Charlotte, then Becky. Will probably be that order. I like Charlotte better than Becky. I think Becky, it's not discrediting Becky at the moment, but I think because Becky Lynch just isn't really, I'm not really a fan of her character, and it's kind of a bland baby face. If she could be the way she was in NXT, then that'd be a different story, but I'll talk about that in a different video. So let's talk about this match. This match I thought was really good. I would say this was probably a 3-star match. I haven't been doing the star rating, so what I'm going to do is at the end of the video, I'll do a star rating for each match. But Charlotte wants Bayley to shake her hand. She demands her to shake her hand, and Bayley refuses. She charges her in the corner, beats the crap out of her. Charlotte tries to hit a couple of shots, but Bayley just is resilient. She wants to continue fighting her. And then Charlotte hits a backbreaker. So this allows her to take control when she dominates Bayley for a long-ass time. And she hits a lot of power moves on Bayley. She gets her into the head scissors and just holds her in there for a while. Gets her into the figure 4 leg lock. Bayley keeps trying to fight back. She eventually is able to fight back, but then eventually, while Bayley's in the corner, Charlotte hits a knee right on her face. And then Bayley eventually is able to make a comeback. She hits a Hurricanrana from the top rope. Not able to get the pinfall, though, because Charlotte had gone for the moonsault. Then eventually the match ends when Charlotte hits like a roll-up and drives Bayley's back of the head into the turnbuckle. Hits a moonsault on Bayley. Bayley's able to kick out. And then Bayley and Charlotte meet eye to eye. And they just have an intense look on each other. Like Bayley's defiant and doesn't want to stay down. And Charlotte wants Bayley to stay down. So then Charlotte hits Bow Down to the Queen, which is now called Natural Selection, for the win, and retains the NXT Women's Championship. But I thought this was good. I would say this was a good match. It did what it needed to do. It was starting to tell that story about Bayley's chase for the NXT Women's Championship, and it was really enjoyable. And obviously this was continuation of Charlotte's dominant reign as NXT Women's Champion. So, no complaints there. After the match, Sasha Banks comes out, and this was like, I talked about it earlier in the video, this was when Sasha Banks was at her best. Because she was able to be bitch Sasha as the heel. Nowadays, she's Bayley's best friend, and oh my gosh. I know the heel turn's coming, but I really want this Sasha Banks back, because this Sasha Banks is awesome. She attacks Bayley, puts her down that she lost, and Charlotte, now she was a heel coming into this match. I think this turns Charlotte into a babyface, because she throws Sasha Banks off Bayley, and prevents her from attacking Bayley. And afterwards, everything's, you kind of feel like nothing's really resolved, but afterwards they all have a little bit of a face-off with each other. So I like what they set up here. They set up Charlotte versus Sasha Banks at the next NXT special, NXT TakeOver All Evolution, which I'll talk about that match when I get there. This was starting to tell the story of Bayley chasing for the NXT Women's Championship. So this was built into future stars in the NXT Women's Division in Sasha Banks, Charlotte, and Bayley. So overall, I thought this stuff was very good. Alright, so next was a video package for Sami Zayn. I mean, obviously they were going to do one for him. They did one for all the other 3 competitors. And obviously Sami Zayn's, I think, the best video package. All of them are good, but I just think that Sami Zayn's someone that's more relatable, and it's just obviously the one that is the one that put the most work in. You know, they talk about how Sami Zayn has all these big losses, and how he can't win the big one, but Sami Zayn says that people take him too lightly, and that allows him to become successful. And Daniel Bryan and Seth Rollins talk about how, Daniel Bryan talks about how Sami Zayn fights through adversity, and Seth Rollins talks about how he's the best person he's ever been in the ring with, and Sami Zayn says that, he realizes that he has big losses, but he doesn't focus on those. Afterwards, he dusts himself off. Sami Zayn eventually goes on to talk about how to prepare for a fatal four-way match, you have to be aware of everybody in the ring. And he says that Adrian Neville is the one that's best documented. Him and Sami Zayn are friends, but he wants to be Adrian Neville in the fatal four-way match because he's the champion. And he doesn't want to have Adrian Neville to have any excuses when he loses the NXT Championship. But he says that eventually Sami Zayn is going to get the NXT Championship. It's just a matter of when he's going to get the NXT Championship. And I thought this video package was very good. And yeah, I really wish they would showcase Sami Zayn a lot more like this, because they just kind of showcase him as a doofus. So this is really good stuff. I mean, Sami Zayn was the heart and the soul of NXT, and to me, he always will be the heart and soul of NXT. So that's just what I think. Alright, so then we had the main event. It was a fatal four-way match for the NXT Championship. NXT Champion Adrian Neville versus Tyson Kidd versus Tyler Breeze versus Sami Zayn. This match was really good. My favorite match on this show. It was almost perfect, but there's one flaw I had about this match, and I will discuss it when I actually review the match, because it takes me reviewing the match to do so. So the match starts. Everybody just kind of is taking their time feeling each other out, and I kind of like when they do that. You don't need, just because you can have a match go into a bunch of chaos right away doesn't mean you need to. I kind of like that they didn't do that. And Tyson Kidd and Tyler Breeze cheap shot the baby faces Adrian Neville and Sami Zayn. Adrian Neville brawls with Tyson Kidd, and Sami Zayn brawls with Tyler Breeze, and they brawl all over the place. That was kind of really like the beginning portions of the matchup. One spot I did like in this match was Sami Zayn was brawling with Tyler Breeze, and he grabs his cell phone, hits him with it, and then he takes a selfie with Tyler Breeze's cell phone and just tosses it in the ring. I thought that was pretty funny. But then they do the spot where they're going to finally have Sami Zayn and Adrian Neville come to blows. But it gets interrupted by the heels, so it continues. The heels double team Adrian Neville and Sami Zayn. They take him up to the stage. Adrian Neville, well, actually what happens is Tyson Kidd is able to get the advantage on Adrian Neville. He goes and takes out Sami Zayn, and Tyson Kidd and Tyler Breeze start to work together, and Adrian Neville's brawling with Tyler Breeze up on the stage. Tyson Kidd chop blocks him in the knee, and they beat the crap out of Adrian Neville. They hit a double suplex on the stage, which looked really cool. And then they double team Sami Zayn, and they double suplex him on the ramp, which was, like, again, really cool. So then they get Sami Zayn in the ring. Well, Tyson Kidd puts Sami Zayn in the ring, and Breeze and Kidd get the heat on Zayn. They just double team him. They hit a lot of cool double team moves on him. Just, nothing really fancy, but, enough to keep him grounded. And then Tyson Kidd throws Adrian Neville out of the ring. He keeps trying to get back in, and he keeps getting thrown out. And Tyler Breeze hits a drop kick on Adrian Neville, on Sami Zayn, tries to pin him. Tyson Kidd breaks that up, and he's like, "What are you doing?" But Tyler Breeze just shoves him aside and continuously just hits vicious right hands on Sami Zayn. Then eventually Tyson Kidd just hits a heel kick right onto Tyler Breeze, and he's gone for pretty much a good portion of the match. And then he throws Adrian Neville out of the ring, and then he gets the heat on Sami Zayn for a while. He hits a sick neck breaker on him. Sami Zayn kicks out, and he pretty much kicks Sami Zayn's ass for a while. And that's kind of like the whole middle portion of the match. It's just Tyson Kidd getting the heat on Sami Zayn, but he hits a couple of cool moves. He keeps tossing Adrian Neville out of the ring. He goes from the apron and hits a kick right to Adrian Neville, and then he has Sami Zayn in the tree of woe position. He hits a drop kick on him, a running drop kick while he's in the tree of woe position. He hits a kick right to the back of Sami Zayn's ear. And eventually Adrian Neville tries to come in and get something going, but he gets tossed out by Tyler Breeze. And then Tyler Breeze tries to get something going himself, Sami Zayn starts to hit his comeback, and Adrian Neville's up on the apron, and he goes to, Sami Zayn goes for his dive over the ropes, but Adrian Neville sprints up on the ropes, and and Sami Zayn thinks he's going to take him out, but then instead he ends up hitting a moonsault onto Kid and Breeze. So then it's finally going to be that time where the faces are going to finally have a face-off, Neville and Sami Zayn. And Neville kicks Sami Zayn's ass. They trade blows, but Neville's able to get the upper hand because Sami Zayn is a little bit weaker than he is. And he hits a drop kick right to the side of Sami Zayn's head. And then Tyson Kidd throws Sami Zayn Neville out of the ring. He tries to take advantage, but Sami Zayn kicks out of it. He hits a snap neck breaker on Zayn. Zayn kicks out of that, and then he goes for the sharpshooter. Sami Zayn's able to fight out of it. Kid hits an enziguri while he's on the apron. Goes for an elbow drop. Zayn counters with a gets the knees up, and then Zayn goes for the haluva kick. Tyler Breeze hits a beauty shot on Zayn, and then he hits a supermodel kick on Kid, and then Adrian Neville tries to go up on off the top rope. Breeze hits a drop kick on him, and he tries to pin Neville, but Neville kicks out. He tries to pin Tyson Kidd. Tyson Kidd kicks out, and then he puts Neville up on the turnbuckle, and he goes for the superplex, but Neville's fighting out of it. So then Tyson Kidd tries to help him hit a double superplex. Then Sami Zayn gets in the win. He hits a power bomb, and it allows it causes everybody to fall down. And Sami Zayn goes for the cover on Tyson Kidd. Tyson Kidd kicks out. Then it's just down to Kidd, Zayn, and Neville. And Neville hits the red arrow on Sami Zayn, and you think that he's gonna, and Breeze throws him out of the ring, covers Zayn, kicks out, and then Tyler Breeze goes for the beauty shot. Kid counters into the sharpshooter, and Tyler Breeze is trying not to tap out, and you think he's about to tap out, but then Neville gets in the win and holds Breeze's hand so he won't tap out, which I thought this was really cool. And then Sami Zayn takes out Tyson Kidd. And then Sami Zayn starts to hit his comeback. He hits an exploder suplex to Tyson Kidd in the corner. And then he hits the he hits a dive on the outside on Neville and sends him into the crowd. He hits the DDT through the ropes on the outside on Breeze, and then he hits the haluva kick on Tyson Kidd, and he's about to get the pinfall, but then Neville pulls the official out. And Sami Zayn's like, what are you doing this for? And this is a surprise because Neville kind of took a heel tactic to retain the championship. So then Sami Zayn goes to get out of the ring. Neville hits a super kick on him, and then he goes up on the top rope, hits the red arrow on Tyson Kidd for the win, and Adrian Neville retains the NXT championship, and he celebrates afterwards. And Sami Zayn barely also missed getting to the pinfall in time too. So it just kind of showed that Sami Zayn was still continuing his chase for the NXT Championship. And Adrian Neville was going to continue his reign as NXT Champion. But this match I thought was really good. One flaw I have about this match is that I didn't really think they showcased Tyler Breeze enough in this match. He really didn't do much of anything in this match. He was there throughout the beginning of it. He wasn't there at all towards the end of it. He was actually gone for a while. And then he did the spot where he did the beauty shot, the supermodel kick, and then the drop kick. And then he was being like that heel that would try to take advantage of opportunity. But I don't really think they spotlighted Tyler Breeze enough in this match as they could have. Other than that, though, this match I thought was really good. That was just my one complaint about this match. And obviously, afterwards, Adrian Neville and Tyson Kidd will go on to have one more match for the NXT Championship, where it was going to be Tyson Kidd's last chance to win the NXT title, and Adrian Neville will go on to retain the championship. Sami Zayn will go back and through his wins, he wanted to win the NXT Championship, so Sami Zayn was able to knock off Tyson Kidd in an episode of NXT. He was able to knock off Tyler Breeze in an episode of NXT, and then it led to an NXT Championship match on an episode of NXT between Adrian Neville and Sami Zayn, and Adrian Neville was able to pull off the victory. This is where you kind of saw Adrian Neville kind of take a little bit of the heel route because he wanted to be feuding with Sami Zayn. They were finally completing the story of Sami Zayn going for that NXT championship. However, obviously they knew that Sami Zayn was going to get a huge reaction, so you got to see a little bit, just a taste of Adrian Neville being a heel before, he's recently now just turned heel. And eventually Sami Zayn and NXT TakeOver All Evolution would go on to win the NXT Championship, finally completing that story. Then Sami Zayn and Adrian Neville would go on to have a rematch. Sami Zayn would win that. Would win that. Then that was pretty much Adrian Neville. He would have one more match at an NXT special. Adrian Neville then would get called up to the main roster, and then Sami Zayn ended up being injured, so we had to give up. So we had to take some time off TV. He came back, finished his story down in NXT. Now he's up on the main roster. Tyson Kidd, after this, pretty much went on to go back to the main roster, and then he ended up getting injured, and we don't ever sure if he's going to wrestle again. That's why it kind of makes me sad to see Tyson Kidd wrestle many matches. And Tyler Breeze pisses me off to see him wrestle matches in NXT. He went on to have some fantastic matches in NXT, especially at some takeovers. Then eventually he got caught up in the main roster, and pretty much instantly Willie wasn't. I mean, he had like one big feud, and then that was it. And now he is this number one contender to the SmackDown Tag Team titles, but still, I don't really think he's being used to his potential. It's a little shame because he's really talented. So overall, a lot of people, Adrian Neville and Sami Zayn benefited from this match. I would say Tyson Kidd benefited from this match, and maybe Tyler Breeze short-term wise, but not long-term. Tyson Kidd maybe long-term benefited because this being in NXT helped him become, like I said, and really improve as a performer. So overall, this match I thought was really good. The aftermath is good, so yeah. So I really enjoyed this match. Alright, so before I cover the fallout of this show, I just figured, because I forgot to, I would do my star ratings for this, for the matches. So for the NXT Tag Team Championship match, I'm going to give that match 2.5 stars, mainly because it got Sin Cara and Kalisto won the titles. The match is overall okay, but, it gets 2.5 stars, though, because the Ascension lost the NXT Tag titles. And then the match between Baron Corbin and CJ Parker, I will give that 1 star because of the cool moment of what happened. Enzo Amore and Sylvester LaForce getting 1 star because that match sucks. And the finish sucks and the booking sucks. Well, Bo Dempsey, Mojo Rawley is going to get a 0.5 star. Charlotte Bailey's getting 3 stars. And then the Fatal 4-Way match for the NXT Championship is getting 4 stars. So obviously you know what the match of the night was. But I'm going to repeat my star ratings. So NXT Tag Team Championship match is getting 2.5 stars. Corbin's CJ Parker is getting 1 star. Enzo Amore, Sylvester LaForce. Actually, I'll give that 1.5 stars. The Baron Corbin CJ Parker match. So let me repeat them. So the NXT Tag Team Championship match is getting 2.5 stars. Baron Corbin CJ Parker 1.5 stars. Enzo Amore, Sylvester LaForce 1 star. Bo Dempsey, Mojo Rawley 0.5 star. NXT Women's Championship match 3 stars. And the Fatal 4 match 4 stars. So there you go. Okay, so next we had NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way Fallout. And we had Tom Phillips and Byron Saxton on commentary for it. And this was pretty much just interview segments, but Tom Phillips and Byron Saxton would occasionally go over the show and talk about what they thought about it. But there was some interviews and stuff on the show. First, Bailey got interviewed, and she comes out here and talks about how she feels like and Renee Young was the one that was conducting all the interviews ringside. And Renee Young asked her how she felt competing at her first NXT TakeOver event and wrestling for the NXT Women's Championship. And Bailey said that she's disappointed that she lost the match, and she felt like she let some of her fans down. But then she said that one day she will beat Charlotte and become the brand new NXT Women's Champion. And then she gets asked how it felt to wrestle in front of the fans tonight and in front of her family, and Bayley's just too emotional and speechless to speak. And then she talked about her number one fan, Izzy, who she said that she's going to fight for her. And then Charlotte comes out, and Charlotte says that she told Bayley that she was going to be here, and I said to beat the woman, to be the woman, you had to beat the woman. And then she says that that Bayley earned her respect tonight. And then Bayley wants to know if she wants to have a rematch. And then she says that when I beat you for the title, and she's like, that doesn't mean that I think you can beat me for the title. And then Sasha Banks comes out and says that she should be the next number one contender. Bayley had her chance, and Charlotte is just living under her father's footsteps. And yeah, they pretty much just go off on each other, and I thought it was quite good. Sasha Banks is just awesome in this role, so yeah. Then Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy got interviewed. They pretty much all make fun of Marcus Louis' hairdo, and then Sylvester LaFleur interrupts it, challenges them to a tag match, which they accept. I thought it was a pretty funny segment, but like I said, unneeded. And then the Lucha Dragons got interviewed backstage, actually, and they got interviewed by Rich Brennan. If you guys remember Rich Brennan, he used to do commentary for WWE, SmackDown, and NXT until Tom Phillips fucked him over and got him fired. What an asshole Tom Phillips is. And he interviews the Lucha Dragons, and they say they're happy to be the NXT Tag Team Champions. They say that dreams do come true. And then the Ascension come up and say that they got lucky. It was a fluke that they beat them, and they said they're going to win the NXT Tag Team Championships back in the rematch. And then Sin Cara was like, yeah, just like when Hideo Itami came out and embarrassed you. And they said that they're going to take care of him, and when they get done with the Lucha Dragons, they're going to be in the back of a milk carton. The Ascension were pretty terrible. They suck, so. And then next, Tyson Kidd got interviewed, and he talked about how he should have already been the NXT champion. He said that if it wasn't for Natalya coming up and crying before his match, he would have won the NXT championship. And he says fact about all these things. And he says that William Regal was going to grant him a one-on-one match until it was interrupted by Tyler Breeze and Sami Zayn. He said that he would have forced Tyler Breeze to tap out had Adrian Neville not break up that pin submission, because Tyler Breeze doesn't really can't withstand pain, and then he leaves. I thought he cut a very good promo. And he said that, but actually before he leaves, he says that if he gets one more opportunity to become NXT champion, he will win the title. Then the final interview was Adrian Neville, and he talks about how a lot of people thought he was going to lose the title tonight, but he said that he is here to prove the naysayers wrong. And he says that if he's on the verge of becoming one of the greatest NXT champions of all time, he's happy about that. And he says that he doesn't think that he did anything wrong in that match. He said that he would do anything to keep the NXT championship. Then he gets asked how it felt to be on Raw, and he said it was an experience never like it before. And then Renee Young shows him a tweet that was sent by Titus O'Neil, and it says that the NXT, and it's pretty much him being upset that NXT took his time away from Raw. So Adrian Neville says that anytime Titus O'Neil wants to come fight me for the title, he can. So this pretty much led to Titus O'Neil eventually going to NXT, and Adrian Neville will go on to defend his NXT title against Titus O'Neil and retain it. So that's kind of where that led to. And then that's it. Overall, I thought NXT Fallout, NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way Fallout was pretty good. I enjoyed the Tyson Kidd promo. I enjoyed the and I enjoyed the woman's promo, and I didn't mind the Lucha Dragons promo too much. So, and I enjoyed Adrian Neville's promo, so it was good. You could definitely see where Adrian Neville's improved on the mic maybe nowadays, because he wasn't as strong on the mic as he normally was. So overall, I thought NXT TakeOver Fatal 4 was a average show. I think I've always said that this was my least favorite TakeOver, and watching it back, I still feel that way. There's just really a lot of stuff that didn't really belong in this show, like the Enzo Amore match with the hair versus hair. That did not belong here. Mojo Rawley versus Bo Dempsey. what else was on this show? What there was other things that didn't really belong in the show, and this just didn't really feel like a special. And I just think that yeah, there was a lot of matches that didn't really deliver as much as they should have, and this show just didn't really feel all that special. But the things I did like was obviously Hideo Itami's debut on the show, the Ascension losing the NXT Tag Team titles. I like the women's match, but it's not as good as like the other women's match. I think Charlotte and Bayley have had better matches. The NXT Championship Fatal 4-Way I think is really good. That's the best thing on the show, I think. And yeah, but it's just a really average show. And I did like the video packages building up to the Fatal 4-Way, but this show just is definitely average. There's a lot of matches that really average itself, and it's just yeah, like the hair versus hair, and that lasted. They got 2 segments on this show. I like the pre-show. I thought that was good, and I didn't really mind the fact that Baron Corbin and CJ Parker had got the one match on this show, but I mean, I don't know if it necessarily should have or not, though, you know. So overall, I thought this was an average show. I'm going to grade it a 5 out of 10. But that's pretty much it, guys. Please make sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't, and subscribe to all my other channels, and that's pretty much it, guys. I'm not going to upload this video at the moment. I'm probably going to wait because I want to go to bed because I got to go to school tomorrow. But I'll upload it when I get home and stuff. So that's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later.